Larry Monet again, back in Larry's Corner. And today we're going to be talking about the second Godox flash that I'll be reviewing, and that is the Godox V1. The Godox V1 is a round-headed Fresnel flash, differing from this one, obviously, by the shape of the face or the Fresnel in it. That's the lens for the flash. It's called a Fresnel because it has these little rings that concentrate the light. Now, these two flashes are pretty much identical as far as function goes. They both have a guide number of about 96 feet. They both put out about 60 to 70 watt-seconds of light. It's going to depend on how you use them as to how far away you'll get the flash effect. The principal difference in these two flashes is the use of this round head, which gives a different pattern of light. Obviously, the rectangular one produces a rectangle of light, either a horizontal one or, if you turn it, a vertical one. This gives a nice round light with a very even fall off on the sides, making it almost an ideal portrait lens or a lens that's usable for food or product photography. Just a nice round pulse of light. This flash actually came out about a year ago. In the neighborhood of 2 years ago, a company called Profoto in Sweden started to produce these with a round head. It looks very, very similar to this unit. It's the Profoto A1, I believe. That flash, because of the similarities between that and this Godox flash, resulted in a lot of threats of lawsuits and letters between the manufacturers telling them to, cease and desist. And I don't know if a lawsuit ever came to pass. I haven't seen anything, but I do know that this was held up being imported into this country for a while until a settlement was made. Apparently something happened between the companies because now this is available, as is the Profoto A1. The Profoto, though, the big difference between that and this flash is nothing in the actual function of the flash, in the light quality, none of that. The big difference in them is the price. The Profoto was originally advertised at $900, and this flash is $250. Profoto has dropped their price since, that they're now selling them for $600. So your choice is still a $600 flash or one that does the same thing for about the same, for 50% of the price. Good flash, good light. Again, it's a speed light, so it's going to have a relatively limited amount of power. Certainly you're never going to overpower the sun with one of these. It does very good for just fill flash. I like the round-headed flashes a lot better than the square ones. They have a nice, easy, round ball of light. Because I do mostly portrait photography, this flash is a little better than the other. However, that being said, you can put modifiers on the other one, as we demonstrated yesterday. It'll give you the same effect as this. I actually own 3 of these and one of these, and I bought this just to play with it, to get an idea of how it worked, to see if it was any better than the square-headed ones. And I found that there's one in using both of them together, and sometimes I will use both of them on the same shoot or together to do different things or do the same thing. I've found that the only difference is this flash does seem to recycle a little bit slower. Now, I don't know if that's in fact the case. It's my perception that they do. However, I'll tell you that everything I've read in the literature says that this flash is just as fast as that one. Maybe so. All I know is that it takes, in any event, whichever one you use, you're never going to wait more than 1 second to get your flash power back. This also uses a lithium-ion battery, just like the other one, but it's not the same battery. And that's very important. This battery fits this flash only. So if you have an 862 and one of these, you have to have a battery that'll fit each one, and they're not interchangeable. This battery even goes in a little differently. See that big hole in there? You just sort of slide it through and it locks in. Works that way. Again, once you load it up, this battery is good for in the neighborhood of, it advertises at, they say, over 500. Full power flashes will obviously make it less. I rarely use a flash at 100% full power. You can, and there are circumstances you're going to want that kind of punch, but mostly you're going to use it at a little bit less, especially if you're using multiple flashes. So as a result, I don't know that the number means anything. The big thing is when you start to see the battery indicator go down, think about putting another battery in it. Don't worry about it. Generally speaking, you can dependably get, I would say, out of either one of these, depend on at least getting 600 flashes if you vary the power any whatsoever. 500 if you're going to run it at full power all the time, and you'll always have it there. The big difference is with these big lithium ions in it, they come back in half a second to a second. There's almost no lag between them, and they're both very similar, even if this one is a little slower, to my perception. Now the other thing about this flash that's really handy is it brings a whole lot of really neat accessories with it. Let me rephrase that. It doesn't bring accessories with it. You have to buy them separate. Isn't that amazing? The accessories, this kit that's made for this one by Profoto costs $68. Comes in this nice little carrying case like this, which it is impossible after you open it the first time to get everything back in it in the way they pack it. I've never been able to do it. But it has a whole bunch of things with it that are very handy. The first and most usable accessory that comes with this is the dome diffuser. This is the thing that stays on the front of my flash almost all the time. And even when I'm using the 860s, I usually put an adapter and stick a dome on it like that. That is the same thing, makes the light a little softer, a little more diffuse. You don't get quite as sharp a shadow. Just beautiful, soft light. The bad thing is with anything like this, you're going to get light going out to the sides. You're going to waste light out to the sides, so to speak. So, but for most of the work that I do, this is the perfect implement. And I have bought this one with the kit and then bought a couple of extra after that because they are so usable. Another neat accessory that comes with this, or that they sell, is a shovel. This is a flash card that you can adjust once you have it on top of your camera to get light up and bounce it back into the face of anyone that you're shooting, or to direct the light a little better. These are called shovels or spoons or whatever. A lot of times in the old days you would see somebody with a 3x5 card taped to their flash. Same exact effect. As a matter of fact, it comes in the 860. It has a little bounce card built right into it. So you can get the same effect. The bounce cards are very usable. I don't use them a lot. I like diffusers better. So that's a nice function. Another thing that comes with it are barn doors. Now, I've used these an awful lot in studios. They're very handy in studios to direct the light where you want it to go. But they're not really all that effective, I think, on a speed light. I've used them. If you really need to push the light off to one side, you can do that. I mean, you can see how that if it hits that, it'll make that little black area there and the light will go out this way. For a speed light, they're just not powerful enough. In studio lighting, you almost have to have them. As a matter of fact, if you ever look at a movie studio, all the lights, the big lights there, all have these on them. Even if they're wide open, they still have them because they are so usable. The other thing that comes with it that I really like is a grid. This is a grid. You'll notice the little honeycombs, all those little honeycombs in there. What they do is angle the light down to 20 degrees. They take the light and bring it in so that you only have a 20-degree exposure, like a column of light. Much more efficient. A lot of the big studio lights are always gridded. This works, and I've used it a lot of times. Sometimes I'll have this on one light and a diffuser on the other so I can direct my light a little differently. The other thing that it brings with it is a set of hard plastic filters. You've got different degrees. There's a little bit of a green one, clear, a neutral density one, and different warming filters, sort of the amber ones are to warm up the light. They're usable. Most of the time we can do that in post, but it also works here. The other thing that it brings is a snoot. Nice, comfortable snoot. That's a rubber one. Now that doesn't use magnets. That hooks on just a rubber thing around it. And I will say this about a snoot. They're very usable in some situations, probably not in everything that you do, but if the photography of Joseph Karsh back in the 20s, who did those Hollywood, famous Hollywood star pictures, and he always had this nice little pool of light right around their eyes like that. That was because he had a snoot off to the side, and once he got his lighting set, that just gave it about a quarter stop greater and really emphasized the look of the face. That's what snoots are for. They're spotlights, and they give you a little hard point of light. Very handy to use. The other thing that it comes with it that's very handy are a set of gels. Gels are, if you like color gel photography, these come with it. They have a whole bunch of them. They have a blue one, they have an amber one, they have a red one. Any color you can think of is in this, and you can put that on there. This colors the light so that it's used a lot in glamour photography. If you're shooting things like that, you'll see often it'll have a blue side of the face and a red side of the face. That's a gel. I don't use them a lot, but they're nice to have. So you get all that for $68 if you buy the entire set. The nice thing is you can buy any one of the components separately. This cost me $17, and I have one for my other flashes. So I have about 4 of them. Usable, nice flash, not too different from the 860, just a little bit of a variation. So that's sort of the end of my second presentation on Godox flashes. The 860 was the first, and the V1 is the second presentation. Next one, we're going to be talking about the AD200, which is their larger flash, and I look forward to bringing that to you in the near future. Thank you very much for watching.